My mother slid the cream envelope across the dining table like she was offering me a blessing. It was not a blessing. It was a bill. The envelope was thick, expensive cardstock with my sister's name printed in gold script across the front. Brielle Mason's 25th birthday celebration. Rose gold dreams. Private dinner. Magnolia Bistro. 7 o'clock. My younger sister squealed as if she had personally invented paper. "They look so good," Brielle said, turning one invitation toward the light. Her fresh blowout fell over one shoulder, glossy and perfect, because our mother had taken her to the salon that morning as a little pre-birthday treat. Aunt Sabrina is going to be sick when she sees these pictures. Her daughter's backyard thing looked so cheap. My father chuckled from the head of the table. "For my baby girl's 25th, we are doing it right." I held my water glass so tightly the ice cracked. I was 27 years old. My birthday was 2 weeks after Brielle's. Every year, by the time mine arrived, my family was too tired, too broke, or too distracted from celebrating her to remember me properly. I had grown up on leftover balloons, grocery store cupcakes, and promises that next year would be different. Next year never came. My mother, Monique Mason, pushed a worn manila folder toward me with 2 fingers. A retail credit card sat on top. "Kira, we need you to coordinate everything again," she said. "You are just better with details than the rest of us." The words sounded like praise if you had never been trapped by them. Inside the folder were printed menus, centerpiece photos, bakery notes, a seating list, a decoration board, and a page where my mother had written "must feel elevated" 3 times in purple ink. I knew that folder. I had been handed versions of it since I was 17, each year heavier with someone else's joy and my own unpaid work. Brielle tapped her nail against a photo of a cupcake tower. "It has to be real buttercream. Not that stiff supermarket frosting. And I want the little gold flakes on top." "Gold flakes?" I repeated. "Not a lot," she said, as if restraint had entered the room. "Just enough to show effort." My father, Derek Mason, slid the credit card closer. "We put 1,000 on there. Your mother says she can give you another 500 next week. The whole thing should run around 6,000 with the room, dinner, bar, cake, flowers, favors, and music." I stared at him. 6,000. "That is normal now," Brielle said. "For a milestone." My father nodded. "We expect you to cover the rest as your gift to your sister. 4,500, give or take. We will pay you back when things settle down." When things settle down. That phrase had been carrying my money out the door for years. My father still owed me for his truck tires from last summer. My mother still owed me for the church gala flowers she promised were temporary. Brielle still owed me for a weekend lake rental she said would be split evenly, then somehow became my contribution because she had a hard month. Nobody at the table remembered those numbers except me. "Kira," my mother said, "did you hear your father?" I heard him. I looked down at the folder. My hands were trembling. Of course no one noticed. In my family, I became visible only when I stopped moving fast enough. I saw myself at 18, staying home from a lake trip to handwrite thank you notes for Brielle's graduation party because her hand cramped after 6 cards. I saw myself at 22, missing the lunch my coworkers planned for my promotion because Brielle's balloon arch arrived flat and my mother needed me to drive 40 miles for a replacement. I saw myself at 25, transferring $1,800 from savings because Brielle wanted a live acoustic singer at the last minute and Daddy did not want his baby disappointed. My own birthdays passed like weather. "We will do pizza at the house," my mother would say. Pizza meant paper plates and whoever happened to still be around after Brielle's event. Sometimes my father remembered at 8 at night and sent a text with 3 birthday emojis. Sometimes he did not. I closed the folder. "I will look at the numbers," I said. Brielle smiled without looking up from her phone. "Great. Also, I added 12 people to the group chat." That night, in my small apartment across town, I spread the folder across my kitchen counter. Rose gold napkins, pearlized balloons, gold-rimmed menus, mini champagne bottles for favors, a photographer, a cupcake tower, a private room with a minimum food and beverage spend that made my stomach tighten. Then I opened my bank account, $6,245. That was everything I had managed to save from my administrative assistant salary, emergency fund, rent cushion, dental work I had been postponing. The small hope that I might finally take a real trip for my own birthday. My family wanted 70% of my safety net for Brielle's party. I sat down at the counter and stared at the number until the screen dimmed. Then my phone lit up with an old message from Renee. 6 months earlier, she had sent a link to a beach house in Destin, Florida. This is still available for your birthday week, Kira. Say the word. Renee and Lacey, my two closest friends, had been trying to get me to take that trip for 2 years. Every time, I said maybe. Every time my money disappeared into family obligations before I could book anything, I clicked the link. The house had a loft, a screen porch, and a small path down to white sand. It was available for 2 weeks. The total was a little under $4,000. My old self heard my mother's voice immediately. Selfish. Wasteful. Your sister only turns 25 once. Then I looked at Brielle's folder. I looked at my bank balance. I looked at the beach house again. I was only turning 27 once, too. My finger hovered over the booking button for a full minute. Then I pressed it. The confirmation came through with a clean little chime. For a second, I could not breathe. Then something warm opened in my chest. Not revenge yet. Permission. I took a screenshot and sent it to the group chat I had with Renee and Lacey. Destin is booked. I am going 1 week early by myself. You two come the second week if you can. I renamed the chat The Great Escape. Renee replied first. Finally. I have had vacation tabs open since Christmas. Lacey wrote, I am buying groceries when we get there. Do not argue. Renee added, I will handle the rental car. I stared at those messages, waiting for the catch. There was none. If you are listening from somewhere you finally get a little peace, tell me where you are tonight. I used to think every dollar I spent on myself was stolen from someone else's happiness. The next morning, my phone started buzzing before I reached my desk. Mom, call the bakery. Brielle, salted caramel instead of vanilla. Mom, ask if Magnolia allows outside candles. Brielle, no cheap ribbons. Mom, your father thinks the open bar package may need upgrading. I flipped the phone face down. Janice from accounting peered over the cubicle wall. Kira, everything okay? Family party stuff? She made a face. The sister again? That small phrase told me how much I had been saying without meaning to. Even my co-workers knew the pattern. My boss, Malcolm, walked by with a stack of files and paused when my phone buzzed again. Take 10 if you need to, he said. You are always ahead on the invoices. At work, I was trusted with budgets and deadlines. At home, I was handed them like punishment. In the break room, I answered my mother's call. Kira, I have been trying to reach you all morning. I am at work. This will only take a second. Brielle saw a bigger cake online. The original one looks stingy now. The cake is already $350. The new one is only $200 more. Mom, you gave me $1,500 and want a $6,000 event. Your father will repay you. Like the tires? Silence. Then her voice sharpened. Kira Denise Mason, I do not appreciate that tone. I looked at the vending machine, at my reflection in the glass, at a woman in a navy cardigan who looked tired enough to become furniture. I am just naming what happened. I am stopping by your office at lunch with ribbon samples, she said, ignoring that. No. The word escaped before fear could catch it. My mother went quiet again. Excuse me? Do not come to my office. Text photos. You are being difficult. I am working. I hung up before she could respond. My hand shook so badly I had to grip the counter. 10 minutes later, Marcus from accounting stepped into the break room. Oh, he was quiet, kind, the sort of coworker who fixed the copier without turning it into a performance. I overheard enough to know you are having a week, he said. Also, Renee told me about your trip. She did? Only because she asked if I still had airline vouchers. I do. They expire soon. I booked you extra legroom for Florida. I stared at him. Marcus, you do not have to do that. I know, he said. that is why it counts. I nearly cried right there beside the stale office coffee. That evening, I went home and pulled old photo albums from the closet. I do not know why. Maybe I needed evidence. Maybe I needed to see whether I had invented the difference. Page after page showed Brielle smiling under balloon arches, beside rented signs, in restaurant booths, by lake cabins, holding cakes with candles shaped like numbers: Sweet 16, 21, 24, graduation brunch, boutique launch dinner. Then I found my own birthdays in my journals. April 18th, age 18. Brielle had a track banquet. Dad bought me a burger on the way home and said we would do cake later. No cake. April 18th, age 21. Mom forgot until dinner. She said we had leftover cupcakes from Brielle's party. April 18th, age 24. Renee took me to the movies. No family text until 9:42 p.m. April 18th, age 26. Helped Brielle pack favors for her pop-up event. Bought myself a candle on the way home. There were smaller notes too, the kind that made the pattern harder to dismiss. Age 19, Mom asked me to pick up Brielle's dry cleaning before my birthday dinner. Then everyone ate without me because traffic was bad. Age 23, Dad gave me a card with Brielle's name crossed out on the envelope because he had bought a multi-pack and mixed them up. Age 26, my mother told me not to make a fuss because Brielle's event had been expensive and we all needed to recover. I had written those entries in the careful handwriting of a woman trying not to sound hurt, even to herself. Seeing them together made the truth impossible to soften. My birthdays had not been unlucky. They had been budget lines my family never intended to fund. I closed the journal and placed it beside the party folder. The folder wanted me to keep the old story going. The journal told me what the story had cost. On Friday, I went to my parents' house with printed papers. My mother thought they were vendor confirmations. They were, in a way. I had booked a small table for 3 at Magnolia Bistro under my name, prepaid $850 for savory courses, non-alcoholic drinks, and peach cupcakes. Enough for my parents and Brielle to eat if they wanted, not enough to fund a 40-person performance. I also created clean summary pages from the restaurant's real email. No lies, just no extras, no private room, no open bar, no photographer, no cupcake tower. The booking clearly said table for 3. I read every line twice because I did not want to do anything illegal or dishonest. The restaurant had offered 3 packages. I selected the smallest one. It required a name, a phone number, and a prepayment. The contract said no private room was reserved unless the full event deposit was paid. I did not pay it. The contract said decorations required approval and a separate setup fee. I did not request decorations. The contract said the guest count on file was 3. I left it at 3. If my family had read what I handed them, they would have known. That was the quiet lesson I had learned from years of being ignored. They did not read documents when they believed I was the document. They did not ask questions when they believed my job was to absorb consequences before anyone else felt them. My family did not read it. That was the bet. "You are a lifesaver," my mother said, taking the papers without looking past the top line. Brielle was painting her nails at the kitchen table. "Did you get the rose gold menu cards?" I handled what I am handling. My father nodded at the envelope my mother pushed toward me. "Here is the extra $500. I deposited it Monday and moved it into my Destin fund. The teller smiled when she saw my suitcase tag keychain on the counter. "Going somewhere fun?" "Yes," I said. "Something for me." The next Saturday, 1 week before Brielle's birthday, my family called an emergency dinner. I knew because my father used those exact words in his text. Emergency meeting at the house. Brielle is upset. I arrived to find my sister at the table with red eyes and a new dress still in a shopping bag beside her. 3 more people confirmed, she said. That makes 53. The room is rated for 50. Where will they sit? My mother rubbed her shoulders. My father looked at me. Call the manager, he said. Tell them we need more space. I have it under control. The words came out calm. They heard obedience. I heard goodbye. See, my mother told Brielle. Kira always figures it out. I smiled just enough to keep the room from looking too closely. At 3:30 Friday morning, my alarm rang. I was already awake. My suitcase waited by the door. Bright yellow sundress, sandals, swimsuit, 2 books, a birthday card Renee had mailed early with strict instructions not to open until I saw water. I locked my apartment and met the rideshare downstairs. At the airport, I bought coffee and stood in line with other sleepy travelers while my phone buzzed in my bag. Mom? Brielle? Mom again. I did not look. At the gate, the agent smiled. Ms. Mason, you have been moved to extra legroom. Thank you. The plane pulled away from the gate. I turned on airplane mode. For the first time in years, the silence was chosen. Destin was bright enough to make me squint the moment I stepped outside the airport. The rental car smelled like sunscreen and warm vinyl. I drove toward the coast with the windows down and the kind of nervous joy that makes you laugh at nothing. The beach house was pale blue with white trim, a screen porch, and a loft with 2 twin beds for Renee and Lacey when they arrived. From the back steps, a sandy path led through sea oats to the water. I set my suitcase inside and walked straight to the beach. The Gulf rolled in soft and green. I stood at the edge while water covered my feet, and for a minute all I could do was cry. Not because I was sad, because I had arrived somewhere without bringing anybody else's folder. I recorded a new voicemail that night. Hi, this is Kira. I am unavailable for the next 2 weeks. Leave a message and I will respond when I return. Unavailable. The word felt like a door with a lock. During the first week, I slept late, ate shrimp from a paper basket, read on the porch, and watched sunsets without checking whether my mother needed anything. Renee and Lacey came the second Friday with groceries, sunscreen, sparkling cider, and a lemon cake from a bakery because they knew I loved lemon more than chocolate. The first morning, I woke up before sunrise out of habit, already reaching for my phone to check what crisis had arrived overnight. Then I remembered where I was. The room was pale blue in the early light. A ceiling fan turned lazily above me. The only sound was the ocean and a gull crying somewhere beyond the porch. I made coffee and drank it on the steps while the sand was still cool. Nobody asked me to call a bakery. Nobody needed a seating chart. Nobody wanted me to fix a guest list. I had no folder, no envelopes, no credit card charge that would become somebody else's maybe later. At noon, I bought myself a paperback from a beach shop and read 3 chapters without rereading the same paragraph because my phone kept buzzing. That felt like luxury. Not the house, not the trip, not the view. The luxury was finishing a thought. On Saturday evening, while Brielle's guests were gathering in Ohio, I was sitting on the sand with my friends, watching the sky turn orange. My phone was on, but silent. I opened one social media app because curiosity is not the same thing as guilt. At 6:15, people started posting pictures from outside Magnolia Bistro, gold invitations in hand, confused faces, dressy cousins standing in the parking lot. Someone tagged Brielle and wrote, "Where do we go?" At 7:00, a cousin posted a short video from the host stand. Brielle stood in her new dress, smiling too hard. "Mason party," she told the hostess. "Private room for 50. The hostess looked at her screen. "I have a reservation under Kira Mason," she said. "Table for 3. Oh, prepaid dinner package, peach cupcakes included." The lobby went quiet in that special way. Public embarrassment makes people quiet. My mother stepped forward. "There must be a mistake. My daughter handled the full event." The manager came out with a folder. "I am sorry," he said. "The reservation is for 3 guests. We are fully booked tonight. We cannot accommodate a private event." The video cut off when someone gasped. Lacey leaned over my shoulder. "You did not cancel it." "No." Renee smiled slowly. "You gave them exactly what they paid for. I gave them more than they gave me." By 8:30, the posts were everywhere in our little family circle. Empty lobby, guests leaving, Brielle crying in the passenger seat of my father's car. Someone named Mariah wrote that she had skipped another event for nothing. Aunt Sabrina posted a pointed comment about confirming venues before sending luxury invitations. My phone filled with missed calls. Dad, Mom, Brielle. Mom, again. I did not answer. On my actual birthday, 3 days later, Renee woke me before sunrise and put coffee in my hand. Beach, she said. We walked down while the sky was still lavender. Lacey carried the lemon cake in a box. They stuck one candle in it, shielded the flame from the wind, and sang quietly because the beach was almost empty. I made a wish I had already begun granting myself. Renee took a photo of me holding the coffee, candlelight on my face, Gulf sunrise behind me. Caption? She asked. I thought for a moment. 27 years old, and I finally showed up for myself. I posted it. Friends from work commented, old classmates commented, a few cousins who had watched the restaurant disaster commented too. Aunt Sylvia wrote, "Enjoy every second, sweetheart." I read that one twice. That night, after dolphin watching and cake and a long walk under the moon, Lacey asked if I was afraid of going home. Yes, I said. Renee bumped her shoulder against mine. Good. Courage usually has fear in the room. When I landed back in Ohio, my phone lit up like a warning board. 60 missed calls, more than 100 texts, 3 voicemails from my father, 1 long email from Brielle titled, "You ruined my life." I listened to the first voicemail in the airport bathroom. "You have explaining to do," my father said. "You embarrassed your mother and sister in front of everyone. Come to the house as soon as you land." My mother's texts were worse because they tried to sound wounded instead of angry. "I cannot believe you would do this to us. Everyone is talking. How could you be so selfish?" Aunt Sylvia's message was the only one that did not ask me to shrink. "They are waiting for you. Stay strong. You have every right to your own life." Renee stood beside me at the mirror while I washed my hands. "Do not go to that house," she said. "I know. Say it like you mean it. I am not going to that house." 1 hour later, after I dropped my suitcase at my apartment, my mother called. "We are outside," she said. "Open the door." I looked through the peephole. All 3 of them stood in the hallway. My father with his jaw clenched, my mother with folded arms, Brielle in sunglasses even though we were indoors. "No," I said. "Kira, there is a park around the corner. I will meet you there in 10 minutes. "Why would we go to a park?" "Because that is the condition." I hung up. The park was public, lit by old lamps, with benches near the walking path. It was not dramatic. That was why I chose it. My family knew how to turn private rooms into traps. My father started before I even sat down. "How could you do something so cruel?" My mother shook her head. "We trusted you." Brielle's voice trembled. "You wanted to humiliate me." I let them finish the first wave. Then I took a breath. For 10 years I have coordinated Brielle's birthdays. I have spent money I did not have, time I could not spare, and energy nobody noticed. "That is not true," my mother said. "It is. At 18 I stayed home from the lake trip to write her thank you notes. At 22 I missed my own promotion lunch because her balloon arch failed. At 25 I paid for the singer. Dad still owes me for tires. Brielle still owes me for the lake rental. You all remember my birthday only after hers has exhausted you." My father looked away. Brielle crossed her arms. "You are jealous." "I was hurt," I said. "Jealousy wants what someone else has. I wanted a fraction of what I was giving." My mother said, "We were going to do pizza for you." "Exactly." No one spoke. "You told me pizza was enough for my 27th birthday. So I decided a prepaid table for 3 was enough for Brielle's 25th. I spent $850 making sure you could still eat. I spent my own money on the birthday I have been waiting years to have." "Our money," my father snapped. "Your $1,500 covered the restaurant table, cupcakes, and part of the deposit. The rest of what you expected was my savings, not yours." My mother's face pinched. "Family helps family. Family also celebrates family." The park lights hummed above us. Brielle's mouth twisted. "Everyone thinks we are broke now. Then maybe next time do not invite 50 people to a party you cannot pay for." That was the first time I saw it. Not regret exactly, but recognition that the old Kira had not shown up. My father lowered his voice. You need to apologize. No. Kira. No, I am done managing everyone's happiness while mine is treated like an inconvenience. My mother began to cry. Carefully, softly, the old me would have moved toward her. I stayed seated. I have work tomorrow, I said, standing. Good night. Brielle stared at me like I had become a stranger. Maybe I had. I walked back to my apartment without looking over my shoulder. The next year was not magically easy. My parents told relatives I had stolen party money. Brielle posted vague quotes about betrayal. A few cousins stopped speaking to me. Aunt Sabrina sent one chilly text about family unity and never replied when I sent the restaurant receipt. For a few months, my phone became a courtroom I had never agreed to enter. My father sent demands for repayment, though the math made no sense. My mother sent messages that started with prayer hands and ended with accusations. Brielle posted old photos of us as children with captions about sisters who change when they get jealous. People I barely knew sent me advice about forgiveness. The old Kira would have built a defense for each person. Screenshots, receipts, timelines, explanations. I started to do it more than once. Then I would remember the restaurant contract sitting in my email. Anyone who wanted to know could ask. Or anyone who only wanted to scold had already chosen their side. So I answered less. At work, Malcolm noticed the change before my family did. You seem lighter, he said one afternoon while signing off on purchase orders. I stopped volunteering for things I resented. He smiled. That will do it. Janice from accounting invited me to lunch the same week and said, for what it is worth, the office has been waiting for you to have a birthday party for yourself. That embarrassed me, but in a sweet way. Being seen still felt too bright at first. I had to learn not to flinch, but other people noticed the truth. Aunt Sylvia called me a week after the park conversation. I should have seen it sooner, she said. Seen what? That you were always working at other people's celebrations and never being celebrated. I sat on my couch and closed my eyes. Thank you. I found a picture of you when you were 5, she said. You were holding a cupcake at my house. I am sending it to you. The photo arrived 3 days later in a small padded envelope. Little me stood on Aunt Sylvia's porch with 2 beads at the end of each braid, grinning at a cupcake with pink frosting. I looked loved. I looked easy to celebrate. I framed it. On my 28th birthday, my apartment looked different. Not expensive. Mine. Photos from Destin on the wall. A bright plant on the balcony, a yellow throw pillow Renee said looked like my vacation dress. The manila party folder was gone. I had shredded it months earlier. Renee arrived first with flowers. Lacey came behind her with lemon cake. Aunt Sylvia brought the framed photo's twin, another picture from that same day, this one with her arm around me. Happy birthday, Kira, they said together. No leftover plates, no afterthought pizza, no one asking me to coordinate my own disappointment. We ate cake before dinner because I wanted to. We played music. We laughed over old vacation pictures. The group chat, still named The Great Escape, kept buzzing with photos and jokes from friends who could not make it. Later, after everyone left, I stood on my balcony and looked at the city lights. My phone was quiet, not because no one cared, because no one was demanding anything. I opened my journal and wrote one sentence, the year I stopped paying admission to my own life. Then I closed it and smiled. I had spent so long being the coordinator, the wallet, the emergency contact, the reliable daughter. I thought if I made everyone else's moments beautiful enough, someone would turn around and make room for mine. They never did. So I made room myself. And that room was beautiful. If you have ever been expected to fund everyone else's happiness while yours was treated like extra, tell me what you would have done with the folder.